I'm here with Andy Kunz, the President and CEO of the U.S. High-Speed Rail Association, and I wanted to ask Andy a few questions in terms of what we're doing, since currently there is no high-speed rail in the U.S. So first, thanks for participating in the CGLA interview series.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So what is the purpose of U.S. High-Speed Rail Association? What do you hope to accomplish?
We started this association to basically be the champion promoting a vision for high-speed rail, which has basically not existed in this country until Obama launched his initiative, and we decided that he needed some assistance to take this to the further step and to carry it out into a complete national system. And we felt that it really needed an organization focusing 100% on advancing the system to help get it built.
Sounds great. What, can you describe a little bit the build out of the system? What are you thinking about?
Well, we've laid out a map that shows a 17,000 mile system to be built in 4 phases, starting with the densest, busiest corridors and evolving into a complete national system by 2030. And so our map shows the 4 phases. That's
fantastic. That really sounds exciting. And obviously we support the idea. One of the things I wanted to get at, I mentioned to you earlier in the green room that I visited I think 6 cities last week, 5 days, probably talked to 70 investors, and a big theme, we were talking about some of President Obama's infrastructure initiatives. We talked about smart grid, and whenever we talked about high-speed rail, people looked at you as if there's no way that you could possibly, that this was ever going to happen. And this was 0 for 70. We couldn't find one person who really thought, everybody thought, I think people thought it was a very good idea, especially in terms of starting with segments that substitute for air travel in the 1 hour to 1.5 hour airplane flight distance. That seemed to make a lot of sense, or Madrid, Barcelona distance, that kind of thing. And so everybody agreed, I think, in that context, that it was a fantastic idea. But we got 2,000 mile stares in terms of people actually thinking, that investors actually thinking that it was going to happen. So what do you say to that?
I found some of the same thing, that there's just a lot of negative thinking, or just not big thinking in this country, and I don't know what happened, because America has a history of thinking big and doing big, bold projects. We've, numerous ones: the highway system, the space program. There's just a bunch of big projects, and it seems like over the last 20 or 30 years that we've just lost any of that bold, visionary thinking, and that's part of the reason that we are launching this map, is because we wanted to put out there a really bold, visionary plan and just see what happens. Get it out to the people and let everyone start debating it and seeing it and kind of reviving big thinking.
No, that's great. And I think what you all are trying to do in terms of creating an association in Washington that can promote and I think support what the Obama administration is trying to do in high-speed rail makes a huge amount of sense. Give us a sense of the advantages of high-speed rail. What does it bring to the U.S. in terms of economic growth, in terms of opportunity, in terms of competitiveness? Why do we need high-speed rail?
Well, right now, all of our transportation systems are just congested and bogged down and extremely wasteful of fuel and people's time, and it's very difficult to get anywhere, and it's basically hampering our entire country's competitiveness and economic development. And so the high-speed rail is a form of transportation that is very efficient, very fast. It moves people quickly. It can even move light goods very quickly without delays, without waste. So just that alone makes our country more efficient and saves us billions of dollars something like $78 billion a year is wasted in America. It's people stuck in traffic.
Okay.
So it's a huge number. And so that's just to get that moving and get the country moving is a great feat. But on top of that, it will create a whole new industry of, for creating millions of jobs, to build the system, to manufacture the rail cars, to run the system, run the stations, maintain everything. So it's basically a whole new industry that will kind of revive our industrial sector, which is dying with the auto industry right now. And so just that, creating new jobs, and also on top of that, just getting us off of our dependency on oil.
Mm-hmm.
So, supposedly we spend something like $700 billion a year purchasing foreign oil, right, which is just draining our economy, and all the money's going to the Middle East and other countries like that. It makes more sense to cut that down more and more each year, to the point where we are not spending that kind of money shipping it to other countries, that the money stays in America and makes America a better country.
Well, it also seems to me that high-speed rail, especially if you think about some of the Chicago projects, Chicago to St. Louis, or Chicago to Kansas City, or Pittsburgh, or into Minneapolis, that would really revitalize the Midwest, sort of breathe life into the Midwest. So that it really looks like a regional development strategy as well. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, for even real estate development, revitalizing cities, any city that the high-speed rail comes to automatically gets revitalized. It's already happened all over Europe. There's numerous cities that were kind of sleepy and going down, and as soon as the high-speed rail came, the whole city came back to life and new development went on. And so we feel that definitely will happen in America, and there's already a big push behind from the real estate development community, from Urban Land Institute. Many of their members are in full support of high-speed rail, and many of them want to actually help fund it so that they can do the development around the stations, which ends up being a dense, walkable form of development known as transit-oriented development, and that makes a better community, more efficient, and the people don't have to be dependent on cars and oil and all that. They can walk and ride the trains, and then this train interfaces with regional rail, light rail, and all that, so you begin to have a whole system of efficient and sustainable transportation that goes right along with this and with all the economic recovery of cities.
One of the things that's interesting in terms of what you say is it's city to city center transit or transportation. And I visited the Madrid-Barcelona line, and it was fascinating for two reasons. One is that both stations, the Barcelona station and the Madrid station, were constructed using private participation, and both of them won Pritzker Architecture Awards. So that's one thing. The other thing, just following up on your point, is that requires 40 train sets, and 40 train sets is about $1 billion in investment, and is about 15,000 jobs that get created. So when
just building the train. And one of our ideas is to actually lure some of the international train manufacturers to America to actually set up plants in Detroit and other cities. To maybe we can even revive some of the old car factories and retool them into building trains. So they would be actually American-made trains, but using the state-of-the-art in technology of high-speed rail, which Japan and France and other countries have perfected. And so that way we can get the best of both. We can get the best trains, but yet create jobs in America building them. The main industries we're going after to sort of bring together would be the real estate development, the finance community, renewable energy, wind, and a lot of that, because that can power the trains.
Great.
And then all the train expertise and the big engineering and construction firms who will build most of the system. So when you put all those groups together, you have the complete package that can actually get these systems going. And our idea is to get it going faster rather than a few systems here and there. We want to get this thing being under construction in many states at the same time.
We understand also that you have a map that shows the high-speed rail system of the U.S. I think we'll take a look at that map real quick, if that's okay.
And what we're showing in this map is the four, as I mentioned earlier, 4 phases, each phase every 5 years, and beginning with the densest, busiest corridors, which is in line with the plan that Obama released. We're calling that our phase 1, the 2015 plan, and then as you can see, it evolves into 2020. You begin to connect up some of those separate regions, and then 2025 you get a western connection and up the west coast, and then by 2030 a complete system across the country, north, south, east, west, so that you have the smooth flow of transportation throughout the nation.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations. It's a pleasure to meet you,
Thank you
and
very
thanks
much.
so much for your time.
Thank you.